Namaskar, my dear friends. So we will talk about today PIC16F microcontrollers. The target device is PIC16F 18877 dash I/P. So this is 40 pin PDIP package. So PDIP package is basically through hole package, very strong, sturdy device that you can see here. There are other package also available. This is like QFN package and TQFP package. But our main target would be PDIP package, 40 pin package. Okay. So in this session, what we'll do is we'll try to understand what is the device features, its capabilities, and what are the things that is available with this particular device. Okay, we will talk about mostly what is the pin descriptions and how to approach for circuit designs. What are the things that is required for you to read in the data sheet. So we'll talk about how to read the data sheet as well and what information you require in the data sheet. So you can see PIC16F 18877 is the device that is our target device. You can understand that next session will be PIC18F 47Q10. This is actually pin to pin compatible with PIC16F. So if you want to upgrade your device, you can go ahead with PIC18F also. But that is having more capabilities compared to PIC16F. However, our main target is PIC16F in this particular session. So let us talk about PIC16F microcontroller here. So you can see this is recommended for automotive design and it has lot of features and capabilities that we'll talk one by one. So let me take to the some of the features. So as you can see, the program memory size is around 56 KB, that is kilobytes. RAM is 4096 bytes. EEPROM, there is inbuilt EEPROM as well, which is around 256 bytes. The pin count that you can see 40 pin it is, so it is 40 pin device. The maximum operating voltage is 5.5 volt and minimum is 1.8 volt. So it can work for both the voltages, let's say 3.3 volt as well as 5 volt. So are you getting it? Now the maximum ADC resolution bit is 10 bit. The ADC channel that is available is 35. So as you can see, out of 40 pins, there are 35 pins which are capable of giving you ADCs. There is zero cross detection available in this particular microcontroller. There are two comparators as well. There is SPI, two SPIs are available, I2C is available, and standalone PWM channels are also available. So as compared to the comparators or compare capture modes, additional two separate PWMs are available. If you see a separate features that was like listed in the microcontroller product page, you can see it is a mid-range device and it is having adjustable internal oscillator up to 32 megahertz. There are two 10-bit PWMs as I told you just now. There are five capture and compare modes, so these can also act as a PWMs. Okay, there is numerically controlled oscillator, internal oscillator available. There is a possibility of external oscillator as well. There is configurable logic controller. There is 10-bit ADC as I told you just now in the parametric features, and there is a implementation waveform generator. Okay, so complementary waveform generator is also available. More into the features, you can see there is 5-bit DAC is also available in this. There is data signal modulator. The programming technique that you can see is ICSP programming. It is there, like in circuit serial programming. There is a zero cross detect as just now I told you. There is Windows watchdog timer. There is CRC and scan. Okay, peripheral pin select. So peripheral pin select, I'll talk very widely on this. Peripheral pin selects are basically those pins which can be assigned any of the function, let's say I2C functions or SPI functionalities, or like some data output functionalities like capture compare modes, or let us say UART functionality, whether it can be either transmitter or receive pins. Okay, so suppose a particular pin is not assigned, so this PPS actually supports many of the functionalities. Either it can be acting as the input pins or output pins based on the particular configuration that we will talk about. Next, it is having enhanced power on off reset. It has low power brownout reset, like it can go into very low power mode. It has programmable BOR like brownout reset. And as I told you, it has two varieties. one is LF, that is low power, and one is without L. So as you can see, PIC 16 LF, that can work from 1.8 volt to 3.6 volt. So it is very suitable for 3.3 volt application. And PIC 16F is very suitable for 5 volt application, as well as it can work for 3.3 volt. But I'll suggest you go ahead with 5 volt only. Okay. So as you can see from data sheet, this is the data sheet for this particular device. So it has like 28 pin, 40 pin and 48 pin, but 28 pin is available only for 57, like 18857 series. Okay. And for 77 series, it has only 40 and 44 pins available. And there are a lot of core features available here that just now I told you. It has the memories capabilities that also just now I mentioned, like 56 KB, 4 KB and 256 bytes of EEPROM. It has a voltage range like 1.8 volt to 3.6 volt for LF series, and 2.3 volt to 5.5 volt, that is without LF series, that is PIC 16 F series. So PIC 16 LF, that is for low power, PIC 16 F, that is for normal power. There are two temperature range for this particular device that is available. One is minus 40 degree centigrade to 85 degree centigrade, that will be called as dash I slash P, or anything is fine. And whenever you find extended temperature range, that is minus 40 degree to 125 degree centigrade, you will see a device is ending with dash E slash P. Okay. So if I talk about like 40 pin PD package, the device will be called as PIC 16F 18877 slash I dash I slash P. That is your industrial temperature range, and dash E slash P will be your extended temperature range. Same manner, you have power saving functionalities, you have extreme low power features, like it takes very less current. As you can see, the operating current is at 1.8 volt, it is just 8.8 microampere at 32 kilohertz, and normal of working is 32 microampere per megahertz. So let's say your working like frequency is 4 megahertz, then your complete consumption of current will be 32 microampere multiplied by 4, that is going to be around 128 microampere. That's it. Okay. As I told you, digital peripheral, so we have already talked about like how many capture compare modes or PWMs are available, and there are two signal measurement timers, and all those things are already seen, right? The digital peripherals also we have already seen that it has a data signal modulator, and like UART, RS-232, RS-485, SPIs, I2C, SM bus, PM bus, so serial mode bus and parallel mode bus. Okay. It has up to 36 pins IO. So out of 40 pins, 2 pins are VDD and 2 pins are VSS, and rest 36 pins can all of them act as a IO pins. So we will be not acting, we will not be taking all of them as IOs. We will be dedicatedly using the programming pins as well. Analog peripheral, just now I told you, like 10-bit ADCs are there, and it has internal voltage reference which can be like as low as 1.024 volt or 2.048 volt or 4.096 volt. Okay. So we are good to go ahead. Oscillators, I told you, it has like high precision internal oscillator up to 32 megahertz. So you can see it has 32 megahertz oscillator, up to 32 megahertz can be there. Then low power internal oscillator is also there, which can be utilized for your RTC applications, right? So real time clock applications, it can be utilized. So 32 kilohertz as well as 32 megahertz. External oscillator like capabilities or options is also available, that we'll talk about, like 32 kilohertz as well as external oscillator blocks that you can take up to 20 megahertz crystal oscillators. Okay, good. So just quickly see what is the family type. So as you can see, 188XX, XX means it can be either 57 or 77. Okay, so we'll talk about only 77. So you can see it has other varieties also, like 54, 55, 56, 57. So those are all like less number of pins. So the number of pins that are a bit lesser in those. but we'll be talking about 75, 76 and 77. So our main target is PIC 16F 18877. Got it? So this is the family. You want to get familiar with other device, almost circuit design will be same and same and as we will be talking about PIC 16F 18877. So let us move to our device. Our device is going to be here. So just now we talked about some of the features. Now we'll talk about the programming technique. So this particular device can be programmed using the programmer PicKit 5. If you have older one like PicKit 3 or PicKit 4, that also it will be able to program. There is advanced one which is ICD debugger, like in circuit debugger. So that can also be helpful for your programming. The code writers are like you can like you have a integrated development environment like IDE, so that is MPLAB, that can be utilized for your writing the code, and XC compiler will be used for compiling your code. There is a code configurator that will help you to configure your device using the GUI method. So graphical user interface will be there, and that's how you will be able to find out. Okay. Now let us talk about the pin configuration. So as I told you, like we'll be targeting 40 pin PD package. So 40 pin PD package looks like this physically, and it has like A, B, C, D, E, five ports are there, and those pins are arranged in this manner. Okay, so it looks like pin number 1 to 20 left side and 21 to 40 right side. Okay, and as you can see, we have VDD pin and VSS pin. That is first pair, and second pair is this side, VDD and VSS. Okay. There is a reset pin also. So this pin configuration and what are all these pins that are associated with, what is their work and what is additional functionalities that is available with us. Like any pin can work not only as GPIO, that is general purpose input output port. It can work as a UART or I2C or SPI or even open drain pins. Some of them are there or not. Okay, some of them can work as a PWM signals generator or capture compare modes. Okay, or some of them can work as timer. So all these things will be available in our pin allocation table. So there is a pin allocation table. There we will find out those information. Okay. I'll tell you one by one all of them. So this is our 20. This is our 40 pin PD package. Other devices are also available with this particular series, which is PIC 16F 18877 microcontrollers. So if you talk about 40 pin VQFN package, it looks like this, like 10 pin, 10 pin and 10 pin and 10 pin. So 40 pins are associated in this manner. And this particular device will be useful for your like high thermal capability. So like let's say you have to design with good thermal power, like there is a possibility of getting like your microcontroller to be heated up with a little bit higher power, then you can go ahead with your TQFN, PQFN package, because it has a more capability of thermal power dissipation. Got it? Another variation of this is 40 pin itself is having a 44 pin is having a QFN package. So 44 pin, if you want to go ahead, so it will have little bit of higher number of pins. So you can see it is actually equivalent to your 40 pin capabilities, but it has 4 pins which are not connected, NC, NC, and this one more is NC and one more is NC. So as you can see, the complete capability is same, equivalent to your 40 pin PD package or QFN package. However, 44 pin has 4 additional pins which are reserved for your future uses, that you don't have to worry about. Same way 44 pin is actually available with a TQFP package also. Okay, so in TQFP package it is arranged like this, and it has also 4 additional pin which are not connected pins. Okay, so NC, NC, and here 12 and 13 are also NC pins. Got it? Alright guys, so we are good to go ahead with the next targets of our device. So we'll talk about block diagram. So as you can see, a simple block diagram tells you what is the complete capability of this particular diagram. So I'll suggest you always try to refer the block diagram to understand the complete picture of this device at a place. Okay. So as you can see, this is your central processing unit, that is your microcontroller hardcore design, and this is your clock out OSC2, and this is clock in OSC1. Okay. So either you can, give a clock input directly and take your clock output, or otherwise you can connect here only your oscillator. Okay. So this is how it is telling. This is MCLR pin, which is your reset pin. This has port pins where it will be working as GPIOs, or any other functionality pins. So that is having port A, port B, port C, port D, and port E. Total 5 ports are available. There is a RAM memory and there is a flash program memory. So flash program memory will be actually used for your program storage, and your RAMs will be used for your real-time memory storage. It has timer, as you can see, timer 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Total 7 timers are available. It has a scanner mode, that is a scan mode I told you just now. This has a cyclic redundancy check, that is CRC. It has DSM, and it has a C1, C2, that is basically your capture compares. Okay. And these are temperature indicators. This is having ADCs, a DAC, and it has FDR. So this is how you have understood what are the different things that is available with this particular microcontroller in a nutshell. This is called block diagram of the microcontroller. So all these things actually are available in the data sheet, that you don't have to worry about. You will be able to see there very quickly and very easily. Now let us talk about pin allocation. So pin allocation, if you talk about, let me directly go into the data sheet and I'll tell you how pin allocation looks like. So if I open the data sheet, if you go to down a little, this is our pin diagram. Okay, block diagram, and this is my pinout description. We'll talk about pinout description after the pin allocation. Just give me a moment. Okay, so this is our pin allocation. Okay, how it looks like is, I'll tell you. If you see, it has pin allocation of 18857. So our aim is to talk about pin allocation of 18877. Okay, so we'll just quickly go ahead with 18877. Okay, so as you can see, we have been listed here 40 pin and 40 pin UQFN, and 44 pin QFN, and 44 pin TQFP. So suppose I am going to tell you RS0. So RS0, if you talk about 40 pin PDIP, it is pin number 2. Whereas if you talk about 44 pin TQFP, it is pin number 19. Okay, so let us just cross check once and then you will be able to find out. So RA pin number 2 in 40 pin, and 19 pin number of pin in TQFP. Okay, so if I talk about TQFP here, this is TQFP 44 pin number 19 is your RA0. So see, this is RA0. Similar to that, 40 pin PD package, my RA2 was, no sorry, RA0 was pin number 2. All right, so this is how it is allocated. Next, this RA pin can also have many additional jobs. So either it can be having ADC or voltage reference, or DAC, that is digital to analog converter. There are comparators, there is zero cross detect, there is MSPS, there is EUSRT, that is UART basically. And this is my DSM, this is my timers or SMT, this is my CCP, that is capture compare modes or PWMs. This is my CWZ, this is CLC, NCO or clock reference, and there is interrupt on change, or there is some basic other functionalities. Got it? So whichever is listed for RS0, that we will talk about. Let us say my RS0 is listed as what? Analog 0. So it is having a capability of ADC. Then it has comparators as well. Okay, so C1 in 0 minus and C2 in 0 minus. Then it has a capability of CLC as well as IOC, interrupt on change. Okay, rest other functionalities is not there, like DSC is not available on this. But if you see RA2, it has a DSC DAC1 out1. Got it? So similar to that, you can see all other pins. I am not going to tell you right now all the things, because you will not be able to understand if if I am telling C1 in 1 plus, what does it mean? So there is a table called as pin description table, which gives you a complete picture of how pins are actually named. So let's say RA means it is having port pin A, pin number 0. Got it? So let us quickly move to pin description. So if you talk about pinout description, in this pinout description, I'll take this is having pinout description of 18857. So our aim is to go ahead with 18877. So my 18877, if you come down, it has 18877. Got it? Now, as you can see, the RA0 pin is actually associated with ANA0, that is analog pin, or C1 in 0 minus, or C2 in 0 minus, or CLC in 0, as well as IOCA 0. So description of each and every words or each and every symbols is given here. So as you can see, there is functionality, there is input types, there is output types. So as you can see, if it is working as RA0, it is general purpose IO. And if it is working as input, it is TTL input, or if it is working as output, then it is having CMOS output as well as open drain output. So this is the pin which is having open drain capabilities. Got it? Now it is having ANA0, that is analog channel A0 input. Okay. This is having C1 in 0 minus, it means comparator negative input. This is having C2 in 0 minus, it means comparator negative input. This is having CLC in 0, it means it is having configuration logic cell source input. Got it? Similar to that, it is having IOCS 0, so it is interrupt on change input. So similar to that, you can read about all other pin functionalities. Got it? So let me quickly tell you different functionalities. Let's say it has DAC1 out1 on RA2, then VREF minus is there on RA2 pin. Got it? Then it has a reference, so you can give external reference for your analog voltage. So this is the pin that will be working for you. So this is having VREF plus pin. Okay. There are some timer pins you can see like timer 0 clock input, so TOCI. So if TOCI is there, if you want to give a separate clock for your timer, then you can give timer 0 clock input from external. Otherwise internal timer will be capable of doing all the timers clocks. Okay, so that you don't have to worry about. For very high end application, people generally give very accurately from outside clocks. So this is how it is given. Got it? Some more other pins are like SS1. So this is actually SPI slave select is there. Then it is having OSC2 pin, that is oscillator output pin or oscillator connector. Okay, this is having clock out capabilities also. Got it? This is having clock input capabilities or oscillator connector. Okay. Next, we have interrupt pin. So like RB0, it has a dedicated interrupt pin. Okay, so you can see it is having INT, that is external interrupt request input. Got it? Then there is something called as SCL, that is I2C SCL data, that is clock data, or SPI clock data. So this is RB1 pin, which is capability of having the capability of I2C SCL line and SCK lines. That you can read it here like SCL2, that is MSSP2 I2C clock input, as well as SK2, that is SPI serial clock input. Got it? Similarly, there is SDI input or SDA input. So SDI is basically nothing but SPI. So you can see MSP, SPI data input, and SDA is basically I2C clock. Okay, sorry, I2C data input. Got it? Next is ADC Act. So if you see ADC Act is different, which is ADC auto conversion trigger input. Okay. There are all normal functions that I'm not going to tell you because those all are same as I told you for the first pin. Okay. Now, the very important thing that you have to talk about is RB6 pin, which is capable of ICSP clock, that is in circuit or like serial programming debug. So this pin is going to be very important for you, which will be utilized for your debugger clock, that is programming clock. Okay. And ICSP data, this will be helping you to program the microcontroller using this particular pin. So ICSP pin data pin is your in circuit serial debugger pin. Okay. So hope you are getting familiar with the pin description and how it is read about, what are the pins that is actually very useful. So you can see T3 CKI, that is timer 3 clock input pin. If you want to give a separate clock input for your timers, then you can give it. Otherwise, you can utilize these pins as a normal GPIO pin. Got it? It has capture compare capabilities, so those will be actually utilized for our PWM generations as well. Next, since I told you like there were two I2C lines, okay, so it can be seen that SKC1 is here. Earlier we saw SCL2 and SCK2. Here it is SCL2 and sorry SCL1 and SCK1. So SCK1 is actually SPI clock input and SCL1 is your I2C clock input. Here it is I2C and SPI. Understood? Same way, SDI is your I2C data and SDI is your SPI data. Okay. There will be a pin which will be SPI data output. So that can be actually utilized as a PSP pin. Okay. Parallel. Next, we are going to talk about IOCC pin and all other pins are available. As you can see, RD0 to RDA7, there is no other functionality that is shown here, but these are actually very useful pin. They will be actually used for your PSP pin, that is parallel slave ports data communication pin. Okay, so they have the very good capability of data communication. Similar to that, other pins are also available. Now, only one pin which I wanted to talk to you about is MCLR pin, which will be actually utilized for resetting the system. Okay. So if you want to reset your microcontroller, this MCLR pin will be utilized. So I'll be using this pin dedicatedly for the reset functionalities. Okay. So you can see master clear input with internal weak pull-up resistor. So internal weak pull-up is also given, but we'll be giving external. We'll design our circuit very thoroughly. There is VDD pin which will be actually power, positive power supply, and there is VSS pin which will be actually ground pin. Okay. Now there is something called as out. Okay. So out is giving a note as 2. So let me come to this note 2 and tell you what are the things. So all output signals shown in this row are actually PSB remappable. Okay. And these signals may be mapped to the output onto one of the several port X pin options. So these particular pins or these particular signals can be utilized uh, on any of the pin that you want to like assign the functionalities. So see, ADC guard ring A, ADC guard ring B, that may not be useful for you right now, but comparator 1 output and comparator 2 output, that can be taken on any of the output PPS pin. Okay. Peripheral pin select. Okay, so in peripheral pin select pin, you can map your C out 1 or C out C1 out or C2 out. Similar to that, SDO I was telling about, like SPI data output, that can also be mapped to a different pin. Similar to that, SCK1 and SDO2 and SCK2. Got it? Next, TX pin, that is transmitter pin. So UART transmit pin, you can like assign to a different pin similar to that clock of UART or data or DSM or even timer 0 and CCP1 or CCP2. Got it? So this can be remapped to any PPS pin that I will be talking about. Got it? Now more of this, some more functions are there on out. You can see CCP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then PWMs 6 and 7, and then we have CWZ pins, that is complementary waveform generators. So these complementary waveform generators can be like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. All these things can be taken into different PSP pins. Got it? Since they were actually not available on any of the pins that was like just now told about, so it can be mapped to your PSB pins. Then CLC1 out, that is configurable logic cell 1 out, and all those CLC 1, 2, 3, 4. Then NCO is that this basically numerically controlled oscillator output, and this is CLKR. Okay, that is clock reference module output. So these were some of the output signal that were actually useful for your this thing. Now this is clock core block diagram. We have already seen the block diagram of this particular device, so we will not be going through here. Now let me quickly go to the pin allocation table. Now you will be able to understand the pin allocation table very clearly. Okay. So as you can see, a pin allocation for this 40 and 44 pin of this 18877 microcontroller is RA0, RA12 up to RA7. Then RB0 to RB7. So as you can see, it is, yes, like arranged in a fashion of port wise. So you can see RA0 to RA7, that is pin number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 14, 13, like that. So it is not in a like a sequential fashion. So this is how it will be known. So I also prefer having port wise, not the pin numbering wise. Got it? Then RB0 to RB7, and their other functionalities are also associated here. So the pin description I told you is actually the functionality of that, but mainly you will be able to find out what is the particular pin and what are other functions that is associated with that particular pin from here. Got it? Similar to that, RC0 to RC7 and RD0 to RD7. So total 8 into 4, that is 32 ports. And then later what are those? RE0, RE1, RE2, and there is RE3. So the total 4 more are there. So 32 plus 4, that is total 36 pins which are acting as a total IOs. Got it? And we have VDD pin which is pin number 11 and 32, and VSS pin which is 12 and 31. Pin number 12 and 31 is your VSS pin. And out pin can act as either ADC or clock 1 out, clock 2 out, SDO1, SCK1, SDO2, SCK2, and TCA-TX. So all these things just now we have seen. Okay, CWG can be given to the out pin, and out pin, whatever the different functionalities just now we have identified. Got it? Okay, so when you are familiar about the pin allocation, the pin description, and all those functionalities, now we are good to go ahead with our clock source. So if you talk about clock source type, once you go down to the data sheet, you will find out this particular page. So on this pin figure number 6.2, we have external clock mode operation. Okay, so let us say you don't want to connect any like oscillator, or you don't want to utilize internal clock source of this particular PIC microcontroller, then you can give a clock source from outside. Okay, so there is any known clock source that is available with you that you can give on your OSC1 pin or CLK in pin. Okay, and the clock out can be taken from CLK out, but CLK out can be taken only the oscillator clock whatever you have given input divided by 4. Okay, so you cannot take a output clock more than, I mean, 1 by 4 times only. Okay, next, suppose you want to connect a external quartz crystal. So quartz crystal you can connect, that is your high frequency oscillator. So it will be quartz crystal connected like this, which will be connecting between OSC1 pin and OSC2 pin. Got it? And we will be connecting a external oscillator only in our design, and I'll show you how to connect it and what are the capacitor value of C1 and C2 based on the crystal that we have selected. If you want to utilize the ceramic resonator operation, okay, that also can be done, but you have to connect additionally one parallel resistor here. Got it? Next, if you talk about the secondary oscillator, that is your 32.768 kilohertz oscillator for your RTC application, it will be connected across SOSCI pin and SOSCO pin. Okay, so OSC1 and OSC2 pin will be helping you to connect your high frequency oscillator, that is megahertz oscillator, and for kilohertz oscillator you will be using your SOSCI pin and SOSCO pin. Okay. Okay, suppose you don't want to utilize your external oscillators, or you don't want to utilize your external clock sources, then you have the availability of internal oscillators. Okay, so internal clock source is also available. It has two independent oscillator that can produce two internal system clock sources. One will be your high frequency internal oscillator, that will be like a factory calibrated up to 32 megahertz, so you can work up to 32 megahertz of frequency. And then one is low frequency internal oscillator, which is factory trimmed at 31 kilohertz. Okay. Done. So next, moving to the PPS input signal routing options. So as you can see, if you want to route it, input signal name is interrupt and input register name is interrupt PPS, and default location at power on reset is RB0. So if you see, your interrupt pin is actually on RB0, and it can be actually put on port A, port B also, as well as in this, if you see 18877, because we are more into 18877. So this interrupt pin can be allocated on port A, port B. Okay. Then similar to that, clock input, timer 0 clock input. So I'm not bothered about right now timer. We will be talking about, let's say, CCP1. So CCP1 actually default location is RC2. But if you want to not work on RC2, then it can go on RB, like port B also, as well as port C other pins also. Okay. So it is actually disassociated here, but you can assign some other port pins also, that I'll tell you how to assign them. Got it? Similar to that, other capture compare pins are also there. So similarly, I will not be wasting time here, because lot of different signals are there, and how they are, like what is their different default location, default location, and what are the other pins that it can be assigned to, that is given in this particular peripheral pin select module table. Okay. So this is your input signal names. Got it? Now the most important thing that the data sheet is actually having is your electrical characteristics. So let us talk about a few things about electrical characteristics. So I'll be talking about maximum rating. So maximum rating means you are not supposed to give a voltage or a current. Either you do not need to source it, or you do not need to sink the current in the pin more than this absolute value that is given here. Okay. So as you can see, there is ambient temperature which is going to be minus 40 degree to 125 degree centigrade. You cannot work more than this, like temperature range. The storage temperature of this device is minus 65 to 150 degree centigrade. Voltage on the, like pins with respect to VSS is, let's say, VDD pin. So if you talk about VDD pin, you are going to talk about PIC 16F series and PIC 16LF series. So F series can work up to minus 0.3 volt to 6.5 volt. So maximum voltage you can apply is 6.5, and the device will not fail. Okay. For LF series, it can work up to 4 volt. The MCLR pin can take up to 9 volt, and all other pins it can take up to VDD plus 0.3. It means suppose VDD pin you have applied 6.5 volt, then it will be taking 6.5 plus 0.3, that is 6.8 volt. Got it? And it won't fail. Then similar to that, maximum current you can see on VSS pin, it is going to take about 350 milliampere if you are working from minus 40 to 85 degree centigrade. If you are going beyond 85 degree centigrade, it will not be able to take more than 120 milliampere current. Okay. For 28 pin devices, you can see the VDD pin is going to take only up to 250 milliampere, or beyond the temperature range of 85 degree centigrade, it is going to take 85 milliampere only. Got it? If you talk about 40 pin device, which has little bit higher capabilities, so between the range of minus 40 degree to 85 degree centigrade, it has the capability to take up to 350 milliampere, and from the temperature of 85 to 125 degree centigrade, it has a capability of 120 milliampere on VDD pins only. Okay. Now any standard IO pins, either it can take 50 milliampere current, or it can source, like it can give you 50 milliampere current. So you are not supposed to take maximum more than 50 milliampere current, either source way or sink it. So current clamp is plus minus 20 milliampere, and the total power dissipation of this particular device is going to be 800 milliwatt. So keep in mind that these all, like readings are absolute maximum ratings. You are not supposed to work on this maximum rating. These are actually worst case scenario. Okay. So there is another table that is given in the data sheet, which is called as operating conditions. So standard operating condition, if you see, if you talk about VDD pin, so you are going to talk about what? PIC 16 LF series. So PIC 16 LF series, it can work up, like at 1.8 volt or 2.5 volt or 3.6 volt max. Okay. So I'll be talking about 3.3 volt. Okay, if you want to work up to 32 megahertz, then you cannot work less than 2.5 volt. That you have to understand. Got it? So it is capable of like working from 1.8 volt itself, but it will be working less than 16 megahertz only. So I'll suggest you go ahead with 3.3 volt for your normal application. Then PIC 16F 18877, it will be working 2.3 volt, 2.5 volt and 5.5 volt. So I will be taking either 3.3 volt or 5 volt, but mostly I am preferring to go ahead with 5 volt application. Got it? Net temperature, industrial temperature, one is minus 40 degree to 85 degree centigrade, and extended temperature range is minus 40 to 125 degree centigrade. Got it? Now let us talk about the frequency graph. So based on the voltage that you are applying, it can give you maximum frequency. That is this particular graph it is telling you. Okay. So if you talk about PIC 16F series, let's say if you want to work up to 2.5 volt range, then you cannot work more than 16 megahertz. So if you want to work more than 16 megahertz, you have to give up to 5.5 volt. That is 5 volt application. It will be suitable. So up to 5 volt application, it will be suitable to work up to 32 megahertz. But anyway, our normal operations of the microcontroller is, let's say, 4 megahertz or 6 megahertz. Then you are good to go ahead with 3.3 volt application also. Got it? Same way, the LF series, that is PIC 16 low power frequency, low power series. So that can work up to 3.6 volt. It can go ahead with 32 megahertz. Okay. And if you want to work with lower voltage, then frequency will also get reduced. Got it? So you can see the shaded region indicates the permissible combination of voltage frequency. So, all right, guys, we have understood this particular device. Our target device is this 40-pin PD package, and we will be implementing the complete circuit of this particular device. How we will be putting the power supply, how we are going to design the reset circuit, or how we are going to give external oscillators, all those things. So, these things we will see in our next upcoming session. Before proceeding to the upcoming session, what we'll do is we'll see some of the devices that is available with this particular series. So let me give you the devices that is available. PIC 16F 18877. So I have taken this particular part numbers, which is PIC 16F 18877 E slash P. So this is extended temperature that you can see minus 42 125 degree centigrade. So PD package. So if you want to find out a complete part number of the devices, this is the part number 1. This is going to be part number 2 with LF series, that is low power series. Okay. Then this is again a 44 pin package, TQFP package. So if you want to write down TQFP package, the difference is you can see dash E slash PT. So if it is T, then it is TQFP package. Without T, it is PDIP package. Got it? Then it is again PT, that is with LF, that is low power. So it is TQFP. Got it? So I means lower temperature range, that is minus 40 to 85 degree centigrade. And here you can see minus 40 to 125 degree centigrade because it is E. So E means higher temperature range. I means industrial, that is lower temperature range. Got it? And this is LF series. Same way other devices are basically it is available with MV. So MV means like I means lower temperature range, and M is basically UQFN package. UQFN package. Okay. Then I slash P PD package, I slash P PD package, that I already told you. So there is nothing to explain more here. Again it is MVVAO, that is again a 40 pin UQFN package. Okay. And PTVAO, that is TQFP package. So I told you PT, that it means it is TQFP package. Now, why it is MVVAO? So VAO is actually going to extend for your application on your automotive grade. Okay. So as you can see, this is a sample product. Okay, normal product. Okay. PIC 16F 18877 slash I dash P dash I slash P. And if you want to design a particular product for your automotive application, then you have to go ahead with MVVAO. Got it? Even this, it is automotive grade, and this is also automotive grade, PTAO. Okay. All right. So as you can see, automotive grades, three of the components were there. So, all right, guys. I hope you have understood the complete understanding of this particular microcontroller, and what were the different design techniques that we'll see in our next upcoming sessions. So, if you do have any questions regarding the understanding of the particular microcontroller, how to select the microcontroller, or how to find out the part number of the microcontroller, what is the specific part number for your applications, that all queries or questions you can put down your comments in the comment box, and I shall be answer you out. So as I told you, Microchip is one of the best company for very sturdy, robust microcontrollers that are mostly utilized in our freezes, TV, washing machines, or home appliances, and then industrial and like automotive appliances. So that's the reason it is very easy to program, and like these are very sturdy device. That's the reason they are actually preferred in all these applications. Okay. So, all right, guys, thank you so much